welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Soliman, and today we are talking about a hot button issue, multicultural and race-related issues. And joining me is Colleen Andre with Life Counseling Solutions. This is what you specialize in, Colleen. So tell us about your experience in that field.
Well, in this field, it really relates to me actually personally. I grew up in South Florida surrounded by different cultures and ethnicities, and I was also raised by immigrant parents. And right now I'm currently in a biracial relationship, and so it's really touched my personal life and my upbringing and my family and my relationships, but also in my work I've dealt with mostly predominantly Hispanic population, so that's definitely affected in that area too.
And I feel like so many people can relate to your story. I mean, I'm actually one of those people as well. Do you feel like society has sort of taken a shift in, race-related issues, and how has technology sort of played a role in that?
Well, I do think there has been a shift somewhat. According to the 2010 census, there has been a 32% increase of people who identify with multicultural race-related backgrounds. So the population in itself has increased, so there is definitely more acceptance. Yet the issue's still there. I think technology and social media has definitely brought to light something that's always been there. It's not as blatant as it used to be like the 50s and 60s where it's blatant discrimination and bigotry, but it's more hidden, it's more subconscious now.
That's so interesting. And the United States is obviously a world leader, really. So do you feel like this is an issue within the United States mostly, or do other countries sort of deal with these issues as well?
I definitely don't believe that it's only a United States issue. In fact, this summer when I was over in London, the buses weren't running because there was a Black Lives Matter protest. So obviously it's affecting them in that way, or they wouldn't be having this protest. In addition, in my research, one of the main reasons that United Kingdom, or one of the reasons that they separated from the European Union, is because they don't want immigrants to come in. There's a huge discrimination against refugees or immigrants. Along with that, there's colorism, so really within a culture such as Indian, Asian, or Hispanic, there's discriminations within the shades of color or the differences.
How do we overcome this? Obviously there's no one real solution, but how are we even at this place? I mean, it's 2016, we're in the United States and even around the world. I mean, it's globalization. So how are we still in this place where race-related issues, multicultural issues are still a topic of conversation?
Honestly, I believe that it is still an issue because it's so deeply rooted in our history. There's been years and years of slavery affecting the United States, and we're dealing about people's perceptions, their opinions. That's an individual case. And so it takes so much time for people to change their perceptions and opinions. It's not something as easy like a new law being made and you can fine somebody just for not, abiding by that law. This is somebody's own beliefs. So with that, there has been change. We're not in this time of slavery or segregation, but obviously there's still this issue right now, which is coming to light.
Do groups like Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, all of these different, groups that have come about from different incidents, do they really help make an impact, or do you think that they sort of create more segregation in their own way, subconsciously maybe?
Well, I do believe in some ways they are trying their best. This is what they know how to do, and the issue needs to be brought out. I think people don't really have this understanding. At the same time, I think it does bring some type of segregation because it's about one issue and one issue only. They don't always integrate, which in a lot of times it does integrate, it overlaps, and every issue is important, but at the same time, this is how they're learning to deal with it.
What can people do? I mean, if maybe, creating groups like what's been happening is one way to maybe find a solution or break that cycle, what other tips would you have for folks who are dealing with these issues on a daily basis, whether it's in their, relationships, friendships, maybe even at work? What can they do to sort of help break the cycle?
Well, I think one of the things to break the cycle is really check within yourself. If this is something that you're struggling with and that you're seeing kind of seeping into your personal life, it's sometimes good to seek help because it can definitely develop into something that's anxiety or depression. There was a situation in Texas for a reason. The man was mentally unstable and he lashed out to the police officers. So you have to seek help today and not to be afraid for that. As far as the wider population, I think there's 3 things that people can do, and that's teach, learn, and listen. teaching others your experiences, be willing to engage with others. I know that this is a very emotionally charged subject, so it can be difficult, but be willing to help somebody understand what it was like for you. At the same time, on the other side, people have to be willing to learn. I know that there is a desire to be passive because you don't want to confront, and this is a scary subject to talk to people, but we can't just be passive. We have to engage. We have to ask questions like, what was it like for you when you saw this on television? Or what was your experience growing up? Be willing to dialogue. And lastly, to really listen, to be willing to understand. And I think with understanding comes change. That's where the cycle can be really broken.
With understanding comes change. I love that phrase. And speaking of change and maybe understanding, you also mentioned television. How, in your opinion, has the media handled reporting on some of these race-related issues that have come about recently?
I think the media is trying to just expose the issue more in general. In Kaepernick's situation, it is a leading issue right now, and they are trying to expose people more by showing other players that are in the situation. So just showing that it's not this one-time incident, which I think it's important for them to bring more awareness. I think sometimes though with media, they only plague or show one side, and so not a lot of people don't understand the bigger picture, which in a lot of ways it's not you versus me, or we're on one side versus against the world. It's affecting all of our lives, and I don't know if the media portrays that. It's affecting everyone.
Yeah, and the media definitely has to play a huge role in what they obviously deliver to the masses, so that's something to definitely take precaution. And Colleen, thank you so much for sharing your insight. Very, very helpful information. And as always, we have resources at the bottom of this video, so make sure you take a look into that if this is a topic of interest to you and you want to learn more about it. And you can also contact Colleen directly. Her information is also in the description box. Until then, we will see you next Wednesday right back here on this channel at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us. They are known as digital nomads, living the ultimate life of freedom while making a living globetrotting. And today we're chatting with two nomads, Rhonda Craig, who is actually in Europe, currently in London, and Will Manuel, who is in Thailand. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.